Oof, pumpkin spice. Welcome back to this channel. It's your resident internet psychic medium, a spiritual advisor, Mr. Crane, and today we're going to be going over some channeled messages. I've been downloading a lot recently, and these I actually think are going to be super fun. One, because it's a lot of them. And two, because I was shocked that these even came up. I actually, when I started channeling, was like, Spirit, you're joking. Stop, stop. Girl, you lying. Really? What? Ooh. And Spirit was like, yeah, girl. Yeah, girl. And I was like, I can't say that. Spirit was like, girl, you better say it. And it was like really one of those moments of back and forth where I was like, no, really? No, that's not right. Really? Are you serious? And so I started channeling because I was just like tinkering around the house. And then I remember specifically walking in the back into the bedroom to like go get something. And then as I'm walking into the back of the bedroom, I heard Spirit go, okay, you ready? And I was like, oh, you must have news. And so they did. And so we're going to talk about these things because I suspect the news concerns a lot of you. And hopefully it'll ask some questions. Now, here's the thing about this, right? I'm just the messenger, right? I don't really always know where things are supposed to be going. I just say it and trust that it will get to wherever it is that it is supposed to go to. But what I do know is that it is for all my spiritual people, right? And it's these channeled messages are meant to be a heads up versus sometimes channeled messages come in the forms of like, this is just information that's going on in the collective that you may want to know about, or this is what's actually happening in your life so you can have greater understanding of it. Whereas in this particular case, these channeled messages was like, hey, heads up. If you want to be able to harness these energies, I'm giving you a forewarning so you will know before other people. This is very much like get ahead of the curve because you know now other people won't know this information and you have an ability to now benefit your life if you want to do that by using this information because you have access to this information in a way that people don't have. So this is like tea. This is like channeled tea, okay? So, you ready? So what I have here, and you're going to see me looking down a lot because I'm looking at the iPad and I got to read. So what I have here is there are a lot of people being called into spirituality right now. And so I think on some like level, there may be an awareness of this, but what we're seeing now is a lot of new faces popping in, right? And that's because they're being called. And because they're being called, these new people that are popping in are not only sort of being called into spirituality, the ones that are intuitive or have some sort of intuitive capability are picking it up faster than people have picked up their intuitive abilities in the past. I also feel I'm going to start talking really fast because some things may start continually come out at the same time. So if I start tripping over my words, that's why. But people are coming into their abilities faster than people were coming in before. And there's a reason. It's almost like it's necessary for this to happen. And the reason why it's necessary is because people are being called in to step up and then also lead the movement is what I have here, which I thought was really interesting. There is going to be a spirituality movement. More on that later. The reason why that this is happening is because there is something like a baton handoff. So anyone that has watched like I was going to use sports as a reference, and then I realized I was ill-equipped. Whatever that running game is, where you like run and then there's a baton and then you hand it to the next one, and then they run and then they hand it to the next one, whatever that's called. That's what I'm seeing in my mind's eye. It's like being handed a baton and then the next person taking off, right? And the reason for that is because established spiritual leaders are tired and they are burnt out. And so what you're going to start seeing is that any spiritual leader that you may have liked, and you'll see it more so on social media, particularly YouTube, you'll notice they will start to pull back a little bit from sort of being out there. They may pull back entirely. Their channels may sort of just go quiet, or you'll see them talking less and less or posting less and less. What's happening is that they are actually starting to get tired and they're starting to get burned out. And so what I channeled is that they need time to regroup. Some of these spiritual leaders will even retire. And mostly because whatever information or whatever messages was their job to get out or disseminate, they have done that already. Whoever they were supposed to touch, they have done that already. Doing spiritual work, particularly being in some sort of spiritual teaching, coaching, guiding capacity, requires an immense amount of energy. And those people are actually tired. And so they actually need a period to regroup. And so because of this, there is like a team trade-off, a handoff, right? So because they're tired and they need to go sit down to catch their breath, they are handing the baton off to the next group of spiritual leaders who will then take it and then run with it so they can go sit down and regroup, right? And so it's almost like people are being tagged in. This is what I wrote. People are being tagged in so the other people can go rest on the bench, right? However, not all bench players will choose to come back to lead after their rest period. The reason for this is that their lives will redirect them to have different human experiences. So for those people who are being called into spirituality now, some of those people may find that what's happening for them is that it feels like their life is kind of turning. Like their life was very sort of 3D, very muggle world, right? Whereas now they are being called into spirituality, and because of that, their life is shifting, right? And so it's the same thing, but in the other way. With a lot of these spiritual leaders, they are not going to come back into sort of spiritual leading. It's not that they're giving up spirituality, they're just not going to play such an active role of sort of leading, ushering, guiding, teaching other people. They are actually going to turn more so into the 3D to experience the muggle world, because they've spent so much of their time, their effort, and their energy experiencing the spiritual that now they want to focus on just being a normal human. And a lot of the reason for that is because we are still spiritual beings having a human experience, right? And so when you are wrapped up in the spiritual so much, sometimes that prevents you from coming down to earth and just being human. And a lot of them are just going to want to be human. And so some of them, for example, may have had experiences as like a spiritual influencer, like a poppin' spiritual influencer. We're talking someone that has, you know, a large subscriber count, or maybe a really profitable business in the spirit and spirituality. And they're going to say to themselves, you know what? I kind of want to try the 9-to-5 thing. I want to see what that's like. You know, maybe when I was a kid, I thought I would be a doctor or something. I don't know. Well, doctors don't really work 9-to-5. Who works a 9-to-5? An accountant? Not really, not if it's tax season. Whatever, you know, I want a 9-to-5 job, right? And I just kind of want to see what it's like, because that is a very mundane, muggle, human thing. And so they may just want to seek out human experiences, and so you will start to see them pull back. A lot of people just in spirituality, people, especially the people that are being called, or even people that have been sitting it for a while, can feel that something is different. And I put feel in like asterisks. A lot of people are communicating with spirit, and a lot of people can feel that their life is about to change. So there's this massive collective energy shift, and there's a feeling. So there's two sides, right? There's a feeling of people where they're just like, oh, I don't know, like, I just really feel like something is happening. My life is going to shift. You know, I don't really know where I'm going, but I just feel the tides are turning. And then there's a second group of people that are like, I know exactly what the fuck is going to happen in my life. I'm just not telling you. There's like two streams of like, but there's this huge collective group of people whose life is about to change. And it's changing due to spirituality. For some people, that means that they will get into more spiritual work. For other people, it means that spirituality is just going to be a tool that they use to guide them into manifesting the life that they actually want to have, right? It may not have anything to do with spirituality. They just maybe they're trusting their intuition more to make better decisions for themselves or something like that. But because of that, their life is going to change, and it's felt. People can feel that, like, things are turning and they're waiting. There's also a lot of people that are getting a lot of synchronicities right now, a lot of messages about what's going to happen in life. And a lot of people are surprised by what they're receiving. A lot of people are like, that can't happen to me. That sounds too good to be true or too big. Some of you need to allow yourself to accept that perhaps it's just big, and like, that's okay. If you want prosperity, you have to allow yourself to prosper. I keep getting the same vision of driving a car, and while I'm in the car, I'm driving, but I'm on an on-ramp to get onto a highway. I keep having the same vision. Every time I close my eyes, I see myself in a car driving on an on-ramp to merge into a highway. And I kept seeing it. And then what ended up happening was I would have that vision, but then the highway would change. So still in the car, right? Still on the on-ramp, merging to get onto the highway, but the highway was changing, right? It was just a different interstate every time. And so what that told me was that it was happening for a lot of people. The reason why I kept seeing the same highway the first few times was because it was for me, right? That message was for me, that, hey, your life is also changing too, and that you're merging sort of onto the interstate, particularly onto another timeline or just into a new way of being, right? But because I started seeing different highways, what that was telling me was that it was also talking about different people in different locations, that a lot of people's lives were also changing, that they are currently on the on-ramp. The on-ramp means that you are actually in the transition phase. So for a lot of people, there may have been this feeling that life was going to do a flip, that life was going to change. And for some people, the feeling is of excitement. It almost feels like it's a good thing, right? Whatever the changes are, they're going to be welcomed. But there's been this feeling of, but when is it going to happen? But when is it going to happen? I feel like it's supposed to happen. I don't want to be crazy, but when is it going to happen? And so what I'm seeing from the on-ramp is that you are currently in the transition phase. If you feel like this is applying to you, you're in the actual transition phase. What that means about being in the actual transition phase is that a lot of things are going to come in and a lot of things are going to go out. Because you're merging onto a highway, you are now leaving things behind. You are leaving a city behind, some form of geographic location. And what that is representative of is that you're now leaving behind all the things that no longer serve you. It doesn't mean that you didn't love it at one point in time. It doesn't mean that it didn't serve you really well at one point in time. It just means that you are in a period of evolution and it's time for your spirit to experience other human experiences. And so now you are leaving that city behind in order to go explore a new city, right? And so because you're on the on-ramp, you are now in the transition phase. And so a lot of things are going to be revealed to you at this particular time. You're going to have a lot of epiphanies. Things are going to be making random sense. You're going to have moments where you're doing nothing but taking a shit on the toilet and you're going to be like, oh, and then like it's all going to fall into place, right? As to why things happened the way they happened, as to why you had certain hardships, as to why those hardships were necessary, as to why that relationship with that one guy from Tinder didn't work out, as to why to this relationship with this one person did work out, as to why so-and-so is your best friend, as to why so-and-so is no longer your best friend anymore. All of those things are going to start making sense to you, and it's just going to be random, and it's going to just be like epiphanies, and it's just going to be like this random clear knowing, right? And that is because the knowing and the understanding is going to come in order to help you release what needs to be released, right? Once you understand it, you can then let it go. And so you're going to start releasing things. People in your life will start to be released. They're going to be people that you love. Some people will be released and you don't have a falling out. You don't have a fight, right? It's just, you're just evolving. And they were really beautiful and served you well for your previous evolution in life, but now you're going into a new evolution where you're going to be meeting new people, exploring new things, and not everyone is invited. Not everyone can come with you. So you're going to notice that people are probably sort of leaving your life right now. And you're going to be like, I don't know what happened. I just lost touch with so-and-so. How did we lose touch? It's going to be things like that. For a lot of people, like jobs and employment, you're going to be like, what the hell am I doing here? I don't understand why I have this job or why I'm here. Relationships is going to be a big thing. Family environments, you're going to be like, I love my family, but I don't like the environment that they create for me. And therefore, I don't want to be in it anymore, right? So you're going to be releasing a lot of things. And because you are in a car on the on-ramp driving to get onto the highway, you only can bring enough stuff that can fit in that car. So what's happening is that you're releasing baggage, right? You're thinking, okay, I have so many suitcases. What do I want to take with me into my next sort of part of this lifetime? And then so the way I'm seeing it is that like you have like maybe 2 suitcases because that's all that fits in the car. Because what I'm also seeing is that it's a little car, right? It's not like a big SUV. It's like a tiny little sedan, like a little Nissan Versa type thing. It's a little car. And so you're just putting in the car what can fit. And then you're just taking off. I'm also seeing that some people have an animal companion with them. I'm seeing a dog for some people and sitting in the passenger seat. I'm also seeing like someone has like 2 cats that I'm seeing in the passenger seat with them. I'm also seeing a bird cage. So somebody has a bird, but I'm seeing you take like your furry companion and then like 2 suitcases and then you're just leaving. You're like, I'm going, my life is changing and it just is what it is. The city, whatever city you're leaving, it's like this place that you're leaving has been called home a long time. So it can be a physical location. It can also be a certain way of doing things in life. Maybe you have done things in life for just too long, right? For a certain, like maybe it's been 10 years and you've been telling yourself the same story over and over again. And you're like, okay, I just want a new narrative, right? So the city is whatever was called home. It can be a person, a place, a thing, a situation, an ideology, a thought, right? Whatever that is, you're leaving. And there was a sense of establishment in that. So whatever it was firm in your life, right? So if it is a city, maybe you've lived somewhere for a long time and you've been feeling an itch and you actually just want to move. Maybe you don't want to leave the city, but maybe you want to buy a house and just move to a different part of the city. Maybe maybe you went to college in a certain place and you never moved after you graduated. Maybe you got your job there. Maybe you've been in that place for like 10 years. So whatever you're leaving is something that has been established. If you're leaving an ideology or if you're leaving a thought, it's a story or a narrative that you've been telling yourself for a really long time. And like right now you're like, okay, I don't really like that story for myself and no longer is resonating with my spirit. I want a new story for myself. So that city that you're leaving behind is established. It's something that you know, it's something that you have been doing for a long time. And now you're like, hey, I actually want to see what else is out there. This is actually happening to a lot of people. That energy is actually in the collective. And because it's in the collective, people are starting to feel maybe impatient or a little anxiety. Some people have like a little bit of like that butterfly feeling that's just kind of always in their stomach because they're anticipating a change, but not necessarily knowing when it's coming. And because it's a collective energy, it may feel more heightened for some people. You may feel a little bit more sensitive than you would normally feel. You may be someone that like maybe you are fine and you don't typically have anxiety, but you feel anxious, but you have no trigger for the anxiety. You're like, I don't know why I feel anxious right now. I just kind of feel anxious right now. It's energy that's sitting in the collective because a lot of people are like, okay, when is it happening? When is it happening? And so we're picking up on that. I do want to say something though about like this road thing. So everyone has a road. This is something I channeled a long time ago, and by a long time ago, I mean like a month or two ago. Like it was supposed to be like a long, like it was years. So because I was asking Spirit, like, why did my life turn out the way it turned out, right? Like, why did I have this kind of hardship, or why did I have to go through these sort of things? And Spirit was like, well, because you designed it that way. I was like, wait a minute, like, let's not fight today. What do you mean that I designed it that way? And then so what they showed me was a road, and they said everybody has a road and everyone picks the road prior to incarnation. And everyone's roads look really different. Everyone's roads is in a different geographic location, right? My road, and then another thing that they said too was that your road mirrors what your life looks like. So for example, my road is very cookie cutter. It's a straight road. There's no windings. There's also no exits. It's a straight shot. There's no trees. It's a sunny day. And if you look out into the horizon straight ahead of you, the sun is setting and it's a beautiful sunset, but there's no trees and it doesn't wind. In the end, my road has 2 lanes, one going one way, one coming the other way. However, I'm the only car on the road and there are no cars coming towards me. I'm going straight towards the sunset, but there's no other cars on the road, right? And so what I asked Spirit, I said, well, does this road change? And they said, no, your road doesn't actually change. You design it prior to your incarnation. It's kind of like your road of life. They said the only thing that would really change is the car that you're driving. So for example, you may start off driving a Toyota Camry, and I'm literally just picking names, right? A Toyota Camry, and one part of your life, you may say, you know what? I want something a little bit more roomy. I'm going to get myself a nice big blacked out SUV. And so you may change the car, right, in order to drive down this road, but the road remains the same. Your method of getting down the road, though, will change for different people. Some people may not want the car. It may be too easy. Some people may want a bicycle. Some people may not want the bike. They may want to walk the entirety of the distance. The road itself is the same, but how you get to the end of the road is the only thing that sort of changes up in humans. However, your destination is the same, and you will always reach the end of the destination. The destination is the end of the lifetime. So for me, my road is very cookie cutter straight, right? And the setting sun is the end of the lifetime. And so I'm driving towards the sun. And the way that translates in my life is that I actually have, in terms of progression of storyline or skill set or even career and career ladder, it's very cookie cutter. It always has been, right? I go to school, I get good grades, I get bumped up to honors, I get good grades, I get bumped up to college classes. When I'm in high school, I get good grades. Then I go to college and I graduate a year early, I get good grades. So then I enter the workforce, right? And then I enter the workforce, and then I skip a couple of rungs in the ladder. And then become a director really relatively quickly. And then I sit there for a little bit, but it's very cookie cutter, and it's because of everything I do leads to the next step. It's reasonable for me. It's predictable, right? It's a very sort of predictable progression. Some people's roads look like spaghetti junctions, and they look like that because for them, their soul thought prior to incarnation, this would be fun, right? It doesn't matter which spaghetti they choose to get on, they will still get to the end destination because all spaghettis lead them home anyway. They all, towards the end of the life, will still do this thing where they come together and then end in the exact same place. Some people's roads have lots of exits, right? And for those particular souls, it's just a soul that's like, oh, I want to see what's over there. I want to see what's over there. I want to see what's over there. And so for those kind of people, you may feel like life has a lot of detours. Like you're going in one direction, you think you know where you're going, then something happens that seems monumental, and then you detour, right? You may have a road that have a lot of exits on it. Either way, your destination is the same. All exits lead to the same place, right? But the road will sort of dictate which direction your life goes in. Is it kind of spaghetti-y, right? Is it a long stretch of straight road and then like boom, all at once? It depends on how the road is designed, right? My road has always been very straight and narrow, and my life has followed a very cookie cutter set of like progression. There's no exits on my thing. And the way it was explained to me is just that it's just the soul itself and how it actually wants to experience things. And so everyone's road is different. And because of that, I think that's probably why I saw some people's roads being different, but everyone was still merging onto the highway, right? On an on-ramp, right? Funniest thing is I did ask Spirit, well, if my road is straight and I don't have any exits, why am I on an on-ramp? And Spirit was like, just take the metaphor. Like, not everything has an answer. Like, not everything needs to be explained. Like, just take the metaphor. So I was like, okay. And then that was it. I do want to go back because I'm going to read it into the order in which it was channeled. And some things, it just, I don't know if it was channeled in order. I don't know what this is. I'm just going to go with it. But I'm going to go back to people coming into their intuitive abilities relatively quickly because it's written down here, but it's written again further down, which means something about that was important. But what I have here is that it's kicking in a fast rate, but the rate is happening in waves. So it seems like typically when we see waves in like this whole sort of spiritual area, sometimes it's happening in pockets, right? So you'll have a group of 10 people, and I'm just throwing out a number. You'll have a group of 10 people, they sort of come into their gifts and then move on. And then you have a next group that comes into their gifts and then they move on in the next group. And so typically we'll call that a wave. The way that I'm seeing it is that the way people are coming into their intuitive ability is that it's coming in like it's, I almost said vomit. I don't know why I was going to say that, but it's coming in. It's almost like it's smacking you in the face. And then you're getting all of this information really quickly. And then it backs off for a few days or like a month. And then one day it smacks you in the face and then it backs off a little bit. And so I'm seeing it coming in waves for people like that. And it seems like the reason why that's happening is to give people time to process what just happened and to come to terms with what's happening. But I also think this is happening too, because I also channeled that the timeline is speeding up. And that's why it's happening so fast. Our concept of time is changing. Because we have to remember, time is a human concept. It's not like a spiritual concept. And so because people are coming more so into the spiritual and it's happening and it's a lot of people and it's a collective energy, the timeline is actually speeding up because in this side, in our spiritual self, there is no time, right? It's all eternal. So things are speeding up. Things seem to be moving a lot more faster. Now, this doesn't mean necessarily that you feel like the day is going faster. You can be sitting in a cubicle feeling like the day is taking all day, right? But there's something about time that feels like it's speeding up. And it's something about the intensity of which it feels like it's speeding up. And this is also driving that feeling of something is about to change. This is also requiring people to tap in faster because of that handoff, that baton handoff. And because we have a lot of spiritual teachers that are about to go sit back down, it's almost like there's not enough time to get everybody trained up to take over. And so time is speeding up to get those people to where they want to be. So people are coming into their intuitive abilities faster and a bit more aggressively than it usually tends to happen for other people. But the people that feel like resonate with this, where you feel like it's coming in, it's hitting at you quick, that just means that you can handle it. It means that you can do it. You can take it. And it probably also means that you're actually relatively gifted and relatively strong in your abilities, that right now it's just more so about learning to hone it and also accepting that you actually have them, right? Because part of the journey is accepting that you have them, accepting that no, you're not crazy, accepting that also no, people don't hear what you hear, and also no, people don't see what you see, and then being and learning to be okay with being the only person having that experience, and also being okay with the fact that even if you're the only person having that experience, that you're still having a valid experience, right? So part of this too is giving you time to process that. There's also something about people are tapping in quickly to assume their role. So some people who are sort of being called into spirituality have roles. So like earlier I mentioned, some people will take what they're learning spiritually and then go manifest the life that they really want by, for example, making different kinds of decisions because they now know how to trust their intuition. Whereas some people have roles, right? Like I said to you, some people are teachers, some people are guides, some people are coaches, some people actually have roles. I don't want to say like a job or like a mission, because you can have a role and it's not your mission. It could just be one of the things you wanted to do while you experience life on earth, right? But some people actually have roles too. So the ones that have roles will find that they will get conditioned into it very quickly. Your intuitive abilities will kick in kind of fast, and then you'll just be able to sort of use it in whatever venue that you're in. The thing that I think is the most exciting, right, that you guys should know about if you want to, this is the T, this is the heads up. This is the, if you want to get ahead of it, do it now, that I was talking about earlier, right? So spirituality is going to turn into a concept, and it's going to pick up in terms of like popularity. It will become a trend. It will become trendy. Like spirituality will become trendy. It will be like a mainstream kind of thing, right? And so with that, it'll be something that will sort of embed itself into pop culture. And we're going to start seeing it come up in a lot of places. So there will be a new clothing trend. Now, I don't have a timing on this. It's divine timing. But it was like, when Spirit was telling me, it was like, heads up, if you want to profit off of this, you may want to do something about it now, right? It was kind of given to me like that. And so there will be new clothing trends. And the clothing trends, it'll be like a spirituality clothing trend. And that trend will mimic what pop culture thinks spirituality means. I don't know what that means, though. That's what I was told, right? There will also be a new makeup trend that will sort of be gothy or mystical, is what they were telling me. And it's supposed to pull on this sort of mainstream idea of spirituality. There will also be a new music genre that'll kind of come up. Now we have like spiritual music artists, but there will be like a new genre of music that will be like spiritual. It'll be spiritual music, but it'll be poppy, right? Because it's supposed to trend. So it's not going to be like spiritual music as in the music you hear at church when someone is playing the organ. It's going to have like, it's going to be playing on the radio type stuff. It'll have modern day beats to it. It'll be kind of like pop music, but it'll have words. The thing that I'm thinking that just came out not too long ago is the song Jericho by Aniko, how that sort of picked up steam. I don't know if you know it. If you don't know, it's a really good song. You should look into it, Jericho. But it'll be kind of songs like that with a poppy production on it, and people will like it. It'll just be a new music genre. There will also be new TV shows and new movies about people waking up to their gifts, right? So you'll start to see more things that'll come up about like witches, right? Because remember, it'll be a trend. It's pop culture. So it's going to be what pop culture thinks spirituality is. It's not going to be necessarily what we identify spirituality to be. It'll be a very cheap pop culture version of it. And so there will be a lot of TV shows and movies that will come out about people waking up to their gifts. And it'll be like TV shows about like witches waking up to their powers, and TV shows and movies about psychics. There will also be like an aesthetic that's created. And I guess this aesthetic sort of will weave in sort of the clothing and the makeup. There will be like a mystical aesthetic that people will have. I don't know what that means, right? Because I'm spiritual. Is this the aesthetic? I don't think it's going to be. I think it's going to be sort of very cheap, a little bit Halloween costumey in terms of like what people think it should look like, right? I think it'll be like very cookie cutter, spiritual symbols used too much. So like people will take the moon and then put the moon on everything, or they'll take stars and they'll put stars on everything, or they'll take the sun and they'll put sun on everything. I'm also in my mind, I'm seeing it on a lot of jewelry, right? But like jewelry that's created by Target and then it's upcharged a lot of money, right? And it'll just be like this trend. But the part that we care about is that because it's a trend, it's going to actually spark interest into like the real esoteric. People will actually start to become really curious because it'll be trendy. So they're going to be like, well, what is this about? And they're going to start wanting to dig into it. Because of this, they are then going to start looking for more spiritual, more authentically spiritual experiences, more authentically spiritual people, right? So this is where we come in. This is where they are going to start looking for tarot readers, for example. The amount of tarot readers we're going to see, it will completely skyrocket. Tarot readers will become a very sort of common thing. It'll get to a point where being a tarot reader or saying you're a tarot reader, it's no longer taboo. It's not weird to people. People are going to be like, oh my God, that's so cool, because it's going to be kind of pop culture-y, right? We're going to get TV shows where somebody reads tarots. It's going to be like a sitcom, and then one of the best friends reads tarot cards. And then, the best friend character and then the main character will go to the best friend character. I'm wondering if I'm actually like predicting a TV show right now, but like whatever. But like it'll be like the main character will always go to the best friend character to read their cards. I'm seeing something like, let's say like a revamped version of like That's So Raven, but the person that's playing the Raven also has tarot cards and like a crystal ball. It's going to be super cheesy, right? But a lot of tarot readers, it's going to just completely skyrocket. There's going to be so many of them. It's going to be normal. It's not going to even be seen as weird or anything like that. There's also going to be other disciplines that will come up, but it seems to be disciplines that are tangible. So things people can hold. So tarot readers will be very commonplace. You're going to see a lot of oracle cards come out. A lot of oracle decks will come out. People will be making them, and you'll probably see a lot of oracle card readers, because we're going to have a situation where people are going to try to skip learning how to actually read tarot cards due to tarot actually being an actual practice and an actual discipline. Because it's a trend and trends move fast, people are going to try to find a faster way to do it. And oracle cards are easier to read. There's no system, and then the keywords are right on the card. And so you're going to see a lot of people, instead of being like, I'm a tarot reader, will also start branding themselves as oracle readers. Also, not a bad thing, but if you feel like you were thinking about doing that and you want to get ahead of the curve, you better figure it out now, okay? Because this is the tea. There are going to be some disciplines that will actually decrease in usage, like mediumship. Things like mediumship will be considered like old. It'll be like an archaic kind of practice. I'm not really sure why that's the case, but it won't be. It's not. The interesting thing is, I can't tell if it's decreasing or if it's not popular. The problem is, because it's going to trend and the amount of tarot readers are going to skyrocket. Is it really that the amount of mediumship decreases, or is it that it's just less noticed because everything else is so much, right? I can't tell which one it is, but it will be seen like as an old practice thing. Like if you are someone that's like a medium, like you're like that witch bitch, like you're like that old witch type vibe is what I'm getting, right? There will also be another aesthetic. It'll be an alien aesthetic woven into this trend, right? So you're going to see a lot of clothing, right? Like with t-shirts, you'll see a lot of alien heads on everything. It'll just be a cool thing to have. T-shirts will have it, backpacks, book packs, bags, pens. It'll just be aliens everywhere. And it'll be the green head that we see with that stereotypical alien head figure that we always have. This trend will have a color palette. And the color palette will be purple and green, similar to what I think of when I think of the movie the Hocus Pocus in Disney, in that Disney movie Hocus Pocus. It'll be like a green and purple color palette. It will be part of the trend. There will be different shades of it, different hues, and not all of it will be like a sort of like proper purple, royal purple type of vibe, or like neon green type of vibe. And there'll be different hues and shades of it. Some of it will be more pastel, but I'm seeing like purple and green being the main thing. This is going to trigger this thing of people being more open to doing things in an alternative way. So they're going to be looking for other ways to get things, other ways to get their hands on things, to accomplish things, to succeed at things. And because of that, they're going to get really interesting into manifestation, right? So people are going to really want to know more about manifesting techniques. And as a topic itself, that's actually going to be a major topic. How to manifest. You're going to see like the word affirmation everywhere. How to manifest. And so for anyone that had ever considered being a manifestation coach, because I've noticed that is a title that's starting to be used little by little. If you've ever considered like, oh, being a manifestation coach, that may actually be cool. This would be a really lucrative gig for somebody, because people are going to want to manifest, and they're going to be coming to people trying to figure out how to get things faster. And they're going to be open to a different way of doing things. And so if you were already thinking about that, because you now have the heads up, I would highly suggest you start figuring out how to piece that together as a business so you're ready to go whenever this manifests itself. Spirit just gave me a timeline. Spirit just gave me within 2 years. It'll pick up steam. And so I'm also hearing and seeing a water droplet, like a slow drip. So what that's telling me is that it'll slow drip into society. And so it'll be here first and then here first, but it'll be a slow drip until at one point it's just everywhere. It feels like that's the case, because if it all dropped now, if the concept of spirituality, tarot readers, mediumship dropped all at one time, it's too much for the consciousness. So there's a slow drip that's going to happen, that by the time it manifests itself, people are not going to be shocked by it. They're going to actually be welcoming to it. So if you are someone that's like, oh, manifestation coaching, I think that's me, that's what I want it to be, you have maximum 2 years. Now, mind you, this is divine timing. So you may find yourself in a circle of people who are there faster than 2 years, right? You may find a group of clients that are there faster than 2 years. This doesn't mean that you have to wait for 2 years, just means that it will happen within like 2 years, right? You'll just start to see it everywhere. But if you want a head start on it, you can start now. You don't have to wait for 2 years. And this is actually why Spirit was telling me. Spirit was telling me, like, girl, like, get on top of it now, right? So I'm telling you to do that. But if that's what you were thinking, get on top of it now. Another thing I have, that was really fascinating. Human design, if you know human design or you're aware of human design, is going to pick up in popularity. And this is going to pick up, and it's going to be like boku money in terms of like human design. Like if you want to make money, if you want to have a human design business, there's going to be a lot of money that's going to be funneled into human design. And the reason for that is because human design isn't necessarily yet an established practice. It is an established practice. There's not a lot of established practitioners of human design. It's something that's still being developed. And still being learned by a lot of people in terms of what it is and how to use it, and then like how to actually like deploy it in your life in a way that's helpful. And so because of this, when people find out about it and it becomes sort of part of that sort of mass mainstream wave, people are going to be interested in it. And they're going to be interested in human design the way people are interested in astrology and the birth charts and the way they're interested in getting a tarot reading. Human design is actually going to be part of that. And you're going to hear a lot about it. People are going to be like, what's your human design? What's your design? What's your design? Like how people now say, what's your sign? People will also say, what's your design? It's going to be a thing. But what we're going to be missing is the abundance of people that can practice it, that know how to take clients off of it, that know how to do client consultations on human design. That's what's going to be missing. So if you are someone that's interested in human design and you want to make a lot of money, I would highly suggest that you allow yourself this time to go study it. And I would highly suggest that you allow yourself the time to quietly piece yourself together a business. That way, when it's ready to rock and roll, you can go rock and roll, okay? With that leads into the next thing I was about to say. There's a lot of interest, and I literally wrote this. There's a lot of interest in creating spiritual businesses or side hustles. This is due to frequency and vibration, the desire to produce things that are high vibrational as opposed to producing work that is stagnant in vibration or low in vibration like how you would do in a regular job. And so if you have thought at any time that it would be nice to have some sort of spiritual business with a mystical aesthetic, specifically if you wanted a mystical aesthetic, like how I said before, how it'll trend and then there will be an aesthetic and there's a color palette of purple and green and things like that. If you wanted to have a mystical aesthetic, so for example, if you were thinking about a jewelry business, like necklaces, bracelets, rings, right? Like actual rings, and I have in parentheses popular. So at some point in time, we're going to have rings are going to be popular, mystical rings. And I'm seeing specifically crystal rings, like amethyst rings. I'm seeing that. Earrings and clothing. And specifically if you have already thought about it and you in your mind was like, I want to use a lot of purple. I want to use a lot of amethyst, or I want purple to be a brand color. And it doesn't matter what shade of purple, right? You were just like, oh, purple feels right. Even if you daydream, even if you have not manifested anything, right? Even if it was a situation where you were like laying in bed daydreaming and you were like, if I created a website, what would it be, right? And you saw purple, then that is like specifically for you. This is a message just for you. It says, get a head start. The timing of this is up to the divine timing. So that means that I couldn't piece together like how long it's going to take off. But you will have the chance to jumpstart prior to the market being flooded. So if you want to do it like a jewelry business or bracelets or rings or popular earrings or clothing, and mind you, it doesn't matter what kind of jewelry it is. So let's say you're doing jewelry and the jewelry is not purple. Let's say it's blue, green, whatever, pink. But for some reason you were like, purple is a good brand color, or I want my website page to be all purple. If you were thinking purple, right? Like it's specifically for you, like start working on that now because the market will flood when it trends. And so you want to be ahead of the trend. You want to already have been in business, right? And this is going to allow you to work on building it in a manner that is calm. You're not going to have to compete. This is also giving you the opportunity to move slow for a couple of years, to get your idea really nailed down about what you want the business specifically to do, what you want it specifically to sell. This will give you an opportunity to try to start selling some things to see if you resonate with it or if you want to switch it up completely. This also gives you an opportunity to do it and mess up. Do it, mess up again, do it, mess up again. That way, by the time you figure it out, it's now trending, but you figured it out already and you're now ahead of the curve as opposed to somebody who jumps in when it's trending and they're now trying to compete. You won't have to compete because at that point, you should already have a sort of established base, and an established idea, specifically whatever it is that you want to do. You won't have to be frantically trying to pull it together because this is the tea. You now have the heads up. So you can just work on it now calmly, knowing that in about 2 years or so, it'll trend. There will also be a new blanket term adopted, and it'll be called spiritualist. That will be a term, and it'll be a catch-all term for practitioners. For practitioners. So, for example, tarot readers will just be called spiritualists. Now, whether or not they call themselves that is a different thing, right? But it'll be a situation of like, let's say someone likes to go get tarot readings and they want to bring their friend. They'll be like, girl, I have a really good spiritualist. Let me take you to her. Whereas now people say, oh, my tarot reader, oh, my psychic. At that point, it'll be like, I have a really good spiritualist. There'll be a new blanket term that's adopted that surprisingly probably won't be used by the people that are spiritual. It'll be used by everybody else identifying us as spiritualists. Whereas we will identify as what we think we are, a psychic, a tarot reader, whatever. If you want to learn some sort of spiritual practice working on it now is a good thing to do, just because there's a collective energy. There's a lot of people that are coming into it. There's a lot of people that are learning right now. And so you can harness that collective energy to help you learn a little bit faster. And then also know that through this, you will be a lot more accepted than you think. This doesn't mean that you won't be judged. This would mean that the level of prosecution that sometimes people fear that's going to happen is not going to happen, right? Maybe you'll have some people giving you a side eye here and there, but you'll be a lot more accepted than you think. Now, because of this change, a lot of triggering things are going to happen. It says people are being shown things that no longer serve them. That is what spirituality does. It's like finding out truth. It's the seeking of your truth, right? And so this is actually because my channel, I can't dictate the order, right? So we're going to now put down the spiritual business, right? We're now going back to what we said before about people feeling like there needs to be a change, right? Okay, so now because there's a change, and remember, you guys are now transitioning because you're on an on-ramp, because again, we dropped the spiritual business and now we're going back because I can't control the order I channel in, right? There's going to be a lot of triggering things that are going to happen, and that's because people are being shown things that no longer serve them. And so with that, it's going to lead to feelings of irritability, annoyance, and frustration. So right now, you can feel either really irritable, really annoyed, or really frustrated by things that did not frustrate you to the extent that it does now. It may have frustrated you, but right now it's like times 5, times 10, the level of frustration that exists, right? That's going to go up. And especially when it comes to people, some of it will be about circumstances, but it's really going to be really heavy when it comes to people, because you are seeing that people that you were close to probably should no longer be close to you. And again, it doesn't mean that you don't love them or that they didn't serve you at one point in time. It just means that it's time for you to evolve and move on. A lot of these people, the reason why it's going to be so triggering is that the people that you now find annoying are going to be people that you would have not previously looked at as being problematic. And then now you're going to look at them and you're going to be like, wait a minute, I don't think we're in alignment. I don't think I resonate with you so much. And that's going to be triggering because you're going to be like, but this is my friend. I don't really understand, right? People are going to be looking at each other. I literally put like, ew, why are they like this? Why are they so miserable? Why are they so insufferable? You're going to be annoyed by people. You're going to be annoyed by things they do and things they say. And it's going to be people that you like, or maybe you did like, but you're just going to look at them now and you're going to think to yourself, were you always this annoying? Were you always this miserable of a person? Did you always complain this much? Because their reality is no longer your reality. You're evolving and you're transitioning and your life is changing, right? And so things that matter heavily to them are not going to be something that matters heavily to you. And so some of the situations you're going to be looking at these people like, why are you making such a big deal? Like, chill, let it go. And they're not going to be able to let it go. And you're going to be like, you're insufferable, right? So that's going to be a thing. Dissatisfaction with work is very heavy right now. So if you feel like you're someone and you don't like your job, and maybe you even feel kind of like miserable at your job, that's normal right now. Also at work, you may feel like you have an extra itch or like this extra air of annoyance. That's also really noticed too. A lot of this, again, is things are being revealed to you that just no longer serve you, that just need to be released. And so what it could be is that the environment is no longer a good fit for you, if it ever was, right? And so you're going to feel a little bit more prickly at work right now. But if you really feel like, I really can't stand this job, I need a way out of this job, that's a very normal feeling right now. It's in the collective. That's because everyone's changing. Excuse me. Everyone's changing. The lives are about to change. And so that's a normal feeling if you're feeling like that. For some of you, it's going to be a little bit harder to accept because this is going to be a job that you probably worked really hard to get. For some of you, it'll be a job that you had that at one point in your time in your life, you felt it was a big achievement for you. And now you're going to be sitting there like, why the hell am I here? Right? That's normal. That's sitting in the collective right now. That is not to say to go quit your job tomorrow. This is just confirmation that you're not crazy, and that if you've been feeling like you need to change, then allow yourself to follow the bouncing ball and allow yourself the grace and the opportunity to now work on a transition plan. A transition plan does not have to be 30 days, right? You can be like, I want a year to transition so I can transition calmly. And this is what the steps are going to look like, right? But if you feel really dissatisfied with your job, like this job is just not for you and you don't know why you're here, that's a normal thing right now because everyone's changing. You are not crazy. So what are you going to do about it is now my question to you. And I feel like I heard someone go, but I have kids. I got a family to feed. Okay. My question remains the same. What are you going to do about it? There is an activation of the sacral chakra, the sacral chakra. So people are feeling really creative. Even if you haven't figured out what do you want to create, there's a desire in the collective to still want to make something. Like people want to create something. They don't really know specifically yet what they want to make, but they know they want to make something, right? That's sitting in the collective. With this, people are also reconsidering their sexuality. This was fun to channel because I don't ever channel things like this. And when I say that, it's less about whether or not you're gay or straight or you're trying to figure out like which team you're playing for, right? It's more about how you feel sexually, right? So it's about sensuality. It's about how you show up in the bedroom. I mean, I guess I could say that folks are probably just horny or whatever, but it's more of like a spiritual horniness that's happening. And I think it's because of expression. Because you're shedding things that no longer work for you. So you're shedding people and you're shedding places and you're shedding things. And with that, you are opening up space for you to create, for you to be yourself, for you to express yourself in a way that's authentic, right? And so part of that is the awakening of like that sacral chakra, the sacral chakra. And part of what it is creativity, but then also sexuality. So as your creativity awakens, which is going to give you those hits of inspiration on what you need to do in order to change your circumstances, to change your jobs. If you are that person I was talking to you about the business, you need creativity for that. That same energy center is also sexuality. So for a lot of people, the sexuality part of them is opening up. I'm also seeing it in my mind's eye, people looking at lingerie. I'm seeing red really heavy. In my mind's eye right now, I'm seeing like red lingerie. Just a feeling of wanting to be sexy. I see people saying like, should I wear this? Should I wear my hair like this? Do I look good like this? There's a feeling of wanting to be sexy, which in my opinion is a beautiful feeling to have because it's a form of expression, right? We have to remember we're still animals, we're primates, right? We have instinct. Sexuality and drive like that is normal. That's a very instinctual thing. And a lot of people, it's dormant, right? Or they bury it because they're focused and they're working on 3D muggle stuff. And so they don't have a chance to really play in that sort of energetic field. But for a lot of people, that seems to be in the collective right now. Women are evaluating their curves. And as opposed to trying to figure out how to cover them up, there's this collective feeling of, how do I accentuate them, darling? How do I make it look like ba-ba-boom, right? There's a feeling of like ba-ba-bam, bam, instead of like trying to like put it away. And with that, eventually shapewear is not going to be popular. When this whole new thing trends, there's going to be a new trend of like no shapewear. And part of that is going to be like, whatever, this is my belly, let it loose type of thing, right? People are not going to be trying so hard to cover it up anymore. Men are also focused on curves, but they are looking at the curvature of muscle and particularly in arms. You're going to start to see men accentuating their arms a lot, wearing shirts that may be loose on the torso but tighter on the arms, right? Or wearing shirts or even sweaters that are tighter on the arms. They're going to be trying to articulate the arms. So women are going to be looking at their hips and their bum and their boobs and their waist, right? And that's going to be their curves. And men are going to be like, rah. Like, and that's going to be their curve. So if you are going to be dating during this time when this manifests, right? And like, let's say you are dating masculines, you're going to see them kind of do this a little bit, trying to show you the guns. I don't have any guns, right? But I can blame that on the McDonald's chicken nuggets, right? But in another lifetime. And then the last thing after, I've been recording for almost an hour. It's the last thing I got. It's the most random thing. Holistic tea blends. The sales will be on the rise for holistic tea blends, particularly blends around meditation or developing psychic skills. This will be the lead into the trend and lead into the new spiritual trend, right? So people will start, it's almost like a gateway, right? Because it's non-threatening. It's just a tea. So people that are like trying to find ways to relax, trying to find a tea that'll put them in a space to be in a more meditative state, and even teas about developing psychic skills, which again is just meditative state, those are going to be particularly popular. So if you were someone that has like a tea shop, right, and you do tea blends, I would suggest that at this point in time, you start experimenting with different blends that can do this. Because remember, there's some time before it trends, right? Like I'm getting like maybe like 2 years, but it's going to drip slowly into the consciousness. So we're going to be seeing it consistently for 2 years. It'll hit the consciousness of everybody else in 2 years. But for us, we'll see it drip in. But because you have the heads up, I would suggest you start experimenting with some tea blends. If you're going to do a tea shop, or even if you were thinking about it or considering doing a tea shop, start experimenting with blends and see what people like. Because right now, we've got time. So anything that we were thinking about manifesting, we have a heads up, we have time, we know where the collective is going. So this is a space of trial and error. We can screw up, right? So if you try to put together a business and like 6 months goes by or even a year goes by and you feel like you're not getting any sales and nothing is happening, don't give up. Just revamp it. Try a different method, right? Because you're still on to something that just may not be the right method. Or consider the fact that maybe the divine timing hasn't hit yet. It's just not time yet. And this is the time where you get your planning under control. You figure out your structure of however you want it to look under your control. Whether or not it's a business or it's just your life, you figure out the structure of it. This is the design phase, right? We're designing how we want it to look. So even if things are not turning out the way you want it to turn out, it doesn't mean that it's wrong. It just means that you have time to tweak it, right? Prior to when the wave happens, then the market may feel saturated and people are going to be trying to figure out what to do. Instead of trying to join the market when it's saturated, be part of the market saturation. Be one of the ones that are saturating the market, because you already have a heads up and you already know what's going on. Why? Because Mystic Rain told you, your resident internet psychic medium and spiritual advisor, right? So listen, that was it. I said that was it, like that was it. That was everything that I channeled, right? I actually thought that channel was actually really fun. Because I was actually surprised. I literally was like, Spirit, are you serious? No, really? And they were like, yeah. And I was like, shut up, right? That was a really fun one for me. So, do with that information what you will. I would love to know if you feel like any of it resonated for any of you guys. Yeah. And as always, if you like me, subscribe to this channel, because I'm just going to end the video here because I actually have no idea what else to say now. And I'll see you soon.